All right, everybody. My post-market wrap-up for this Monday, May 13th, 2019. Truly a black Monday. Stocks down hard across the board. The Dow Jones Industrial Average peeled off 614 points at the close. However, we were down worse than that earlier in the day. The low of the day was about 719. I want to talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about the bond market. As I am doing this video blog, I want you to think about what I'm going to tell you. The 10-year yield is lower than the 1 month. A 1 month debt unit, because that's what they are, is yielding more than the 10-year debt unit. This is not good, and I don't care what kind of perspective Rick Santelli or anybody else wants to put on it. It's not good. And look, I've covered with all of you at length that the debt market is a time bomb. It is. It's a time bomb waiting to go off. And as the yield curve continues to invert, there's going to be a snapback moment, and that's going to be the big one. This is not the big one. This sell-off we had today, not even close. Although, I mean, this is pretty extreme. You got people running around with their hair on fire, screaming, "Oh, help me!" But look, yeah, today was bad, but it's nothing yet. Now, I want to talk about a bunch of other things as well. So let's just summarize what I just went over. Stocks got walloped today on the back of retaliatory strikes from China regarding what they're going to do with tariffs on our goods, a potential threat to selling off bonds, which will hit our economy like people have no idea. It's just such a simple concept to understand. And this is another thing that can be twisted and spun by whoever wants to try to do it, because their brain is not engaged. They're not going to understand that China, by buying our debt, has been propping up our economy, so we'll buy their products. If they dump our debt, the economy falls. Same mechanism that the Federal Reserve has been using since the meltdown of 2007, 2008. You do not need to be really a smart person to understand that concept. But again, I had a lot of arguments today from people, and that's all right. We need them in a lot of ways to stay dumbed down. It's the truth. I'm going to level with you all. Let them stay there. But for the majority of us, I think we can think our way through a lot of this, what's going on. Now, look, I want to read an article to you that I wrote earlier, and these are my thoughts, so don't go off the deep end. Just let me read this to you. In fact, I'm going to place a link to this article in the description of this video so you can ponder these things for yourself. Basically, the premise of this is pretty simple. What's next? So let's read the title. What is next in this worsening trade war? Perhaps this, by yours truly. All right. Again, these are ideas I'm just throwing out here, and I want to discuss some of it. So, what's next in this escalating trade war? The president could attempt to contain Chinese exports via an embargo or a physical blockade of Chinese shipping, which is an act of war. He could also freeze Chinese assets. Bottom line, this is a very bad spot for both sides right now and will escalate. The only question is how. Now, I want to put a perspective on this for you as well. The other issue, and this is, I'm going to read this to you, the other issue with increasing tariffs. Again, the president has decided to increase tariffs, just do more of the same. Okay, so the other issue with increasing tariffs is the president broadcast to China exactly what he would do months ago. Why did he reveal his hand like this, telling the enemy exactly what he would do before he would do it? It makes no sense to me, and it shouldn't make sense to anyone, because our president said with regard to his Middle East strategy, he said you don't reveal your hand. Meanwhile, he did absolutely reveal his hand to China. When the president announced months ago that he would raise tariffs to China, he should have never told China, I'm reading this again, exactly how much. The correct way to play it is pretty simple, and this should make sense to you. He should have kept them guessing about exactly how much, what he was planning on doing, not allow them to prepare for this. A very bad strategy, in my view, to announce what he was going to do ahead of time. Look, this is a war. People do die in trade wars. You don't believe me? Read a book. Look it up. It's incredible. Now, we got a warning today. Again, we heard from Goldman Sachs, who backed up Larry Kudlow. Hey, by the way, where's Larry Kudlow? He's vanished. The man is gone. Yesterday, we know what he did. In many ways, he backstabbed the president. But I think it might be a ploy. It's the truth. Exposing the lie that China's not paying for the tariffs. He admitted it before the world. It went viral. Goldman Sachs backed him up on it. The man's gone today, just vanished. Now, this is what bothers me. And I don't know how many of you were watching CNBC. The president today was on CNBC blinking a lot as he was talking, a sign of stress. I don't want to see anyone stressed out. Even the president, I don't want to see someone in that kind of a state. It's sad. It really is. And I understand people, build their own rafts or however you want to put that. But it's still not a pleasing thing to me to witness another human being stressed out. And the blinking, the excessive blinking, is a clear indication that he is under a lot of stress. Personally, I hope the president does okay. I do not want to see anything bad happen to the president. He is a fellow human being, just like you are to me. And I care about people. I really do, even if they lie. So that's where I'm trying to get to. The president, again, propagated the lie narrative. It's been exposed. Maybe he did not get the memo that China's paying the tariffs. The president should know that we understand that it's not true. But he did propagate the lie. The blinking was going on. Maybe he has to keep up the narrative. I don't know why he's doing that. But Larry Kudlow is gone. The man just vanished. Morgan Stanley backing up Goldman Sachs. This is exactly what they said. This is a quote. This is not Greg Mannarino. Trump's new tariffs will likely lead to an economic recession in the United States. Okay, we know where that's going. Now, let's talk about the stock market a little bit further here. At the low, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 719 points. At the low, Secretary Mnuchin came out and said, quote, are you ready? Sit down. China talks are ongoing. The moment he said that, stocks literally bounced off of their lows, and that's why the stock market didn't drop lower. There's still that shred of hope. Despite the escalating war, this is escalating right now. It's not getting better. That there's some kind of hope. Look, I want these people to work this out. I really do. But the fact that China had a lot of time to prepare for this, they knew it was coming, exactly how, was a bad strategy. And our president, all he needs, for those of you that have a selective hearing, I am not saying that we do not have a trade imbalance issue that needs to be worked out, okay? A lot of you keep writing to me. You're so fixated, so blind by the situation and who's sitting in the White House that you don't care what happens. All right, all I am saying is the president needs a new strategy. And this time, he should not announce it to China. He knows this. But he is stressed out. And that blinking was sad to see. It's the truth. Look, this still may be a ploy here. And I'm going to outline this again maybe a little more clearly because I said this earlier and people got confused. The stock market took a dive today. It may not be over. Probably isn't over, okay? Now, we understand that there's been some pretty lofty calls, even from the president himself, for a rate cut and for more quantitative easing. What does that mean? The middle class, in my view, will be forced to continue to subsidize the stock market via a rate cut and more quantitative easing. The middle class, which barely exists anymore, is getting robbed blind. Do you know that over the last 100 years, this entire century, We have never seen what we're seeing now, that is millennials moving in again with their parents and living with their parents for such long periods of time because they cannot survive. They cannot survive on their own. The middle class is literally being decimated. And if we get a rate cut, that means that their interest earning accounts, whatever they might have, will pay even less than it is now, subsidizing the stock market. And more quantitative easing will do the same thing. I think that maybe what's going on here, when the market bleeds off more, there's going to be a lot of cries to keep stocks propped up. Keep them propped up. I mean, it almost seems like the money that was repatriated, remember, the repatriated money to our country, no questions asked, that might be running out. A lot of cash has been gone into this market to keep it propped up. It needs another mechanism, and why not just rob it from whoever's left in the middle class? If you are a member of the middle class, and I'm talking about a real member of the middle class, not someone that is buried in debt beyond their eyeballs. That's not a member of the middle class. That is someone struggling to maintain themselves in the middle class by borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. If they weren't borrowing, boom, fall right to the lower rung of society. It's very, very sad. Very extremely sad. I think that pretty much covers a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about here. And I want you to ponder what I've spoken about, how this is working, where this is going, where do you think it's going? And I'm going to, again, post a link to that article I wrote in the description of this video. Read through that. Ponder it for yourself. There aren't too many, seriously, avenues right now for this to get better in the short run. And I do hope that cooler heads prevail and this does not escalate into a shooting war. Again, people do die in trade wars. People do die in real wars. And we'll see where this goes. It's a shame. Look, I got this wrong so badly. Truly, I honestly believed that there was no way that President Trump and the whatever his name is, the ruler in China, would allow this to deteriorate to where we are now. I honestly believed that they would work something out right now, but they didn't. I mean, maybe I'm giving both of these two creatures a little more credit than they deserve, but admittedly, because a lot of people like to hear when I admit things, I got this way wrong. I honestly thought a deal was in the works, done, they were going to announce it. I was only wrong because of the irresponsibility and poor judgment of world leaders. And now, who's going to pay for it? You are, I am, and the rest of us are. With that said, this guy honestly loves all of you so much, and I did an interview with Dave of X22 Report. There's also going to be a link in the description of this video. Watch that interview. Listen to what I had said in there. I talked about unity. Talked about how we need to come together and stop this division here. Especially in this environment. It is going to end very, very badly. And it already is for the middle class, who is literally being decimated. With that said, please share this video. See you in the morning. Again, this guy loves you. Over now.